Come on, Sharp, get up.
Just a little longer.
Sharp Talon murmured from his nest. He felt claws digging into his chest and figured they were just trying to knead him awake. Instead, they shoved him. Only halfway through falling towards the ground did his half-awake mind realize he'd been pushed out of his nest. His half-stretched wings helped slow the fall, but he still landed with a hard thump on his rear. His crewmate laughed from his perch next to Sharp Talon's nest above and glided down much more gracefully.
Featherbrain!
Sharp Talon grumbled as his friend helped him to his feet. He pointed at the clock, enraged.
I only just got off my watch!
Dashwing didn't shrink from his friend's outburst.
Well, if you want to sleep so bad, you can sleep in the mess. But I doubt you'll get any sleep here when the humans arrive.
Humans? Here? They're all in the cargo holds.
Dashwing shook his head.
New orders from on high. They get to come up to the ring to exercise each day. We have to clear out of here before they do.
Sharp Talon sighed. This was life with the fleet after all.
There's no chance of me getting any sleep now. Grab my tools for me.
He waved his beak at the wall where a long tool belt hung on a hook. Dashwing handed it over, and Sharp Talon swung it around his left wing, adjusting it until it felt comfortable before strapping it in. The two crewmates departed their dormitory, whose hatch sealed behind them, and entered a wide, low space. The roof and floor gently curved up and away from them in each direction. The floor beneath them was the outside end of the habitation ring. There were tables and chairs here for more civilized people than the apes. Sharp Talon hoped they would leave it all in one piece. When he beat his wing to propel him toward the hatch, he heard a crash of metal on the floor behind him. His tool belt's pouches were never buttoned shut, and now their contents were scattered all over the floor. The two avians hurriedly scooped up the tools and made sure to fasten the buttons this time. They flew away into the hatch, closing it behind them. They missed a small pencil, which had rolled under one of the tables. After breakfast, Keen divided the group in half. He didn't break up any of the friendships that had already formed.
It's good to have friends to support you,
he observed. Consequently, most of Max's side were men and Valerie's women. Though as random chance would have it, there were only about 40 men among the 100 in this room. The rest of Max's ranks were filled with the women left over from Valerie's side. Valerie took more than a few men to her command as well, including the acrobat who had made friends with the woman he rescued from microgravity. Ishan joining Max more than compensated him for the loss of the gymnast. All told, 49 now belonged to what Keen called Taylor's platoon under Max, and 50 to what he called Wilson's platoon under Valerie. As leader of them all, he belonged to neither. Not long afterwards, the hatch hissed open again. 4 guards floated in. They carried the batons, of course, but their whole heads were enclosed by hoods that hissed with their every breath.
In case they have to gas us,
Ishan guessed.
Time for physical recreation.
One of the translators beeped.
Follow us.
The guards beckoned them into the hallway.
Rich, Valerie, each of you form a line side by side.
Keen ordered.
I don't want us getting punished for anyone falling behind.
Once they relayed the command, the 2 new platoons scrambled into position side by side. But they also showed they were still clumsy in 0G and reluctant to take orders from the 2 lieutenants. Max took a little satisfaction in his line forming up first, even if it did have one less to worry about. He hoped they would get even better with time. 2 guards led them out into the corridor, while the other 2 tailed the back of the formation for stragglers. The hallway led them down into a much wider cylindrical corridor about the same width as their landing ship. It was much longer than any room they had seen so far. It seemed to stretch on forever. The humans could feel that news of their movement had preceded them. The hatches had all been shut, and there was not another bird in sight. Max assumed an air of importance. This was clearly the main avenue of their ship, and they had closed it down for him. He glanced over at Valerie heading her line, wondering how she felt. Her eyes didn't meet his. Her head was on a swivel, but her eyes were focused, as if she was trying hard to memorize every detail about the path they took. The birds could flap their wings to move ahead in the air, but the chain of humans had to hold each other by a shoulder with one arm and push off the wall with the other. Up ahead, they could see a part of the corridor that was slowly rotating, judging by the hatches that swirled around its sides. The bird stopped just at the edge, and Valerie watched intently as one poked his foreclaw in a tiny hole on the wall Max hadn't seen before. A keypad of some kind popped out, and the bird pressed the key forth from the top. It corresponded to one of the 4 hatches in the spinning section sliding open.
This is the habitation ring. You will find artificial gravity at the bottom of this spoke.
The bird chirped and his ankle buzzed.
You will not damage any of the furniture you find inside. Is that clear?
Clear.
Keen said. The translator cooed. Satisfied, the bird led them into the spinning section, where several handholds had extended around the one open hatch. He waved them in. The humans carefully grabbed hold of the spinning section and climbed into the hatch that led down the spoke.
Feet first!
The digital voice called from above them. The humans spun themselves around. As they floated down the spoke, they slowly began to feel themselves accelerating. Faster and faster, they perceived themselves to fall, until at the last moment it felt like they were falling so fast they were going to break something. At that point, however, they had already left the opening of the spoke and gently landed on the floor of the habitation ring. The head of the line quickly fanned out to avoid being crushed by the falling people behind them. Max felt the familiar weight of gravity on his shoulders and breathed a sigh of relief. It may have been artificial, but it was a sweet memory of home. They found themselves in a long space where the floor and roof curved up and away from them. They had just fell down from a hatch in the roof. The room was wide, too, and the wall on his left was lined with sealed hatches. Between him and the hatches were scattered tables and furniture that, ignoring their Spartan decoration, were properly sized for a children's playground. The image of one of these birds on a seesaw gave him a chuckle.
This'll do just fine.
Keen nodded approvingly. He turned and addressed the centripetally bound crowd.
Let's get to work.
The 2 platoons formed square formations with plenty of elbow room between each person. Following Keen's example, they spent several minutes in all sorts of stretches. He didn't know what kind of medical care was available up here, even for just a pulled muscle, so he wanted them as flexible as possible. The formations broke for a slow jog that began just a hair above walking pace. They looped the length of this compartment, and with each lap, Max was feeling better and better. Ishan wasn't.
This is the most running I've done in my whole life.
He wheezed. Max's brow furrowed. They had a long way to go. He turned his disappointment into a smile.
Think how toned you'll be at the end of it.
With each lap, Keen increased the speed. Max took deeper breaths to regulate his heartbeat. Ishan hobbled along.
I can't no more.
He gasped.
Give me one more, then we'll take a break.
Max pleaded. But Ishan fell out of the formation, stumbling to a stop. Max looked back and found out he wasn't the only one. A sizable pack of sweaty onlookers had stopped and stood there with heaving chests and hands on their knees. Keen raised his hand and called for everyone to stop.
Take 5,
he shouted. He hardly seemed winded at all.
You all right?
Max patted Ishan on the back. Ishan spat on the ground.
Just need to catch my breath.
Take as long as you need.
Max's eyes wandered around the room. He spotted Valerie by the tables, closely encircled by a few of her platoon, whispering quickly to them. He wondered what they were talking about.
All right, back in line. Let's do it again.
Keen called. Reluctantly, the group got back into their respective formations and started jogging again. Max wiped his face with his shirt on the next break. He was on the side of the room with the tables now, about where Valerie stood before. She was eyeing him from a distance while she caught her breath. Max walked over to her.
How are your people?
Exhausted.
She said. They shared an awkward silence. Max finally broke it.
Aren't you going to ask about mine?
How are yours?
She rolled her eyes.
Pretty tired too, but we'll get there. It's only day 1.
She nodded. When Keen told the formation to fall back in for the next, she eagerly jogged away. Max started to struggle now. The only thing propelling his legs forward was his desire to set a good example for his platoon, but he figured it still looked good to check on his stragglers. And that way he didn't have to keep so close to Keen's pace. He dropped back along the side to find Ishan at the back of the pack.
How you doing?
He asked.
No more.
Ishan panted. Max couldn't tell if it was sweat or tears in his friend's eyes.
You can do it.
Max encouraged.
No. Ask Keen for a break. I found something. I'll show you.
I can't. We have to finish this set.
Max said.
Please.
Ishan begged him. It definitely wasn't sweat running down his face. Max nodded and spent his last bit of energy sprinting back up the side of the formation, where he found Keen leading both platoons. As he rounded the corner, Max appeared on his shoulder.
Keen, my guys can't take any more.
That means we need to keep going.
Keen said.
We have to push their limits.
They're not soldiers. They're engineers. Students.
They're gonna need to be soldiers.
Keen swallowed.
If they want to survive.
Please, Keen. It's only day 1.
Keen looked at him.
It's fine. Company, halt!
He cried. Everyone gasped for relief. With his hands on his hips and his legs burning, Max walked slowly back to Ishan.
Thanks. I'll show you what I found.
The pair strode over to the tables. Max looked over his shoulder. Valerie was staring right at him.
Don't look now, but Valerie's watching.
Max whispered.
Then she's the one who wrote it.
Ishan responded. He pointed at a chair laid slightly askew. Underneath one of its stubby legs was the silvery glimmer of the corner of a food packet. Max looked back. Valerie was now flanked by the handful of men and women that he had caught her talking to earlier. Ishan reached down and pulled out the packet before Max could caution him against it. It was empty and flattened out by hand. In the straw hole, a pencil had been placed. On the front of the packet, someone had written a message in plain English. If you find this, we are planning a mutiny. There are 5 of us. Right on the back if you will join us. Max's eyes widened.
Put it back!
A voice spoke from behind him. Max recognized it.
What are you doing, Valerie? You're going to get us all killed.
I'm going to get us all home.
She spat.
Faster than Keen ever could.
Her goons surrounded Max and Ishan.
If you leave this here, the birds will find it, not one of us. This is where they live. You have no idea if they'll even send the others to exercise here.
I'm willing to take that risk.
Valerie said.
And even if you get the others to join us, the aliens are going to gas you as soon as you try anything.
Max countered.
I've got a plan for that.
She responded, digging her nails into Max's neck.
But it's not something Keen's lapdog needs to know. You two won't say a word of what you found, understand? Especially not to that bird lover. If you do, and I catch you...
We get it.
Ishan hastily answered, bending down and placing the packet back under the chair.
Good.
She exclaimed, smiling for whichever hidden cameras or human onlookers may have been watching. She clapped them on the back like they were her best friends.
But if you do tell anyone, I'll beat you both to death myself.
She whispered in their ears.